It's been 37 days since we had to close the church and begin staying home because of the pandemic. And even though just a few days ago it was Easter Sunday, and we're supposed to be in the midst of celebrating the great 50 days of Eastertide, I have to admit, it doesn't feel very much like Easter. I miss worshiping with my friends at church. I miss going to the adult forum and chatting with people at the coffee hour. I miss children's worship, and I miss the music, and I miss the Sunday school children. And yet I know that we give up all of these things for a period of time because it's the right thing to do. People are making sacrifices, small and large, right now. Essential workers are pushing through the stress and going into their jobs in order to take care of people who are ill or dying, and in order to make sure that the rest of us have essential services. The rest of us are doing our part by staying home and trying to flatten the curve of the pandemic so that others might be less ill and so that fewer people would die. These sacrifices that we're making are creating a sense of grief in us. The grief is very real. We remember the life we had before the pandemic, and we grieve the loss of that life. We can no longer go to our happy places, and we choose to not go to the movies or to the coffee shop. We choose not to go out to restaurants. We choose not to go into the office because we know it's the right thing to do right now. In the midst of all this loss, the thing that gives me peace is a strong belief that this is what loving our neighbors as ourselves looks like. This set of sacrifices that we're making, this is what it means to walk in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. And as Jesus followers, we have a wonderful template set up for us in the Christian story that helps us to make meaning out of the sacrifices that we're making. In the Christian way, we tell the truth that suffering and crucifixion and that painful loss is a part of our life journey. And that when we choose to sacrifice for the sake of loving other people, that is a path that leads to abundant new life. And so right now, I hope that we can all begin to see this time of sacrificial giving as really a time of a love offering that we give for the sake of our neighbors. And that we begin to see this as a spiritual practice that we are actively choosing. We're giving things up so that others might thrive and live. This gospel reading that we have assigned for today is so wonderful. It's the story of the disciples following the resurrection, and they're huddled away in a room together behind closed doors, and they're fearful about what might happen next. Boy, can I relate to that. Being behind closed doors and feeling worried about the future. And right there in the midst of their worry, the story says that Jesus enters the room. Now, Jesus has died on the cross, and the resurrected Christ somehow enters the room. And Jesus says, "Peace be with you. Peace be with you. Peace be with you." Oh, we yearn for a sense of peace right now as we are fearful and anxious and we're sequestered behind closed doors. And we wish that the peace of God would come into our homes and into our hearts to bring us a sense of peace. My hope is that as we make meaning out of this time of offering and self-emptying, that somehow God would bring about a sense of hope and a sense of anticipation for the new life that will follow. We don't know what that new life will look like, but we have faith that God will not abandon us and that God will not leave us comfortless, and that God has shown us a path that when we give for the sake of loving others, that there's abundant life as a result. And so today I say to you, Happy Easter, and peace be with you.